we have a 2013 Hyundai Veloster Turbo, and it is provided by my buddy here, Kevin. The Hyundai Veloster Turbo, let's see here, puts out about 201 horsepower and about 195 pound-feet of torque, and that comes in around 1800 RPMs. And it's definitely an economy car, but the styling is either hit or miss. Well, I mean, what do you think about it? What made you want to buy this car?
It doesn't look like anything else out there on the road, so the styling factor, it definitely screams that it's mean, but at the heart of it is an econobox. It'll get me about 30 miles to the gallon combined, roughly, which is decent, which I love. I can run regular gas through it, or if I'm wanting to give it more pep during the summer, I'll throw in some premium, and it seems to liven it up a bit. But here in Chicagoland area, we got the winters to suffer from, so right now we're running on regular octane.
And regular, you mean 87?
87, sorry.
Oh, we got some wheel squealage.
Oh, we gotta turn that baby off. There we go.
I mean, so from a driving perspective, it definitely feels like, I mean, it would feel like any economy car that you sort of, if you got a Honda Civic and stick, this like the setup, it feels like what it would be like the clutch feel. The I don't even know what this feels like. But I mean, the pedal, like, there is instant torque when you're,
I want to say, and I think you've driven a Civic before, the SI. I actually haven't, but the difference that you're gonna feel, I'm sure, is the fact that this has a turbo and the Civic doesn't, so you have a lot more lower end power in the pedal that you'd feel on this when your RPMs are kind of creeping up there, whereas
right,
you don't have to get them as high and yelling like you do with the VTEC engine.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I drove Dave's S2000 last week, and you know, his suffered from just a lack of torque. Here, when you're in the power bands, and it is from 1800 RPM to about 4,500.
I actually honestly feel a drop off north of 3,000.
3,000?
So I want to say in between 2 and 3 is pretty much the sweet spot. And then I think when you get north of 4,000 is when it's kind of like, that's when the horsepower is really kicking in and you're feeling it.
But yeah, that exhaust, you can definitely.
That's not a stock exhaust, people. It's a magnaflow, so it definitely rumbles.
Magnaflow exhaust, and you have bushings on it.
Yeah, the rear engine mount bushing as well, and that provides a much better. I felt it a lot in the gear changes. The improvement with the bushing, as well as then not getting the wheel hop. There's a few other videos out there when this car started coming out, doing launches 0 to 60, and the windshield wipers would kick on because of the freaking wheel hop. And the rear engine mount really clears that up.
Yeah, I mean, this is a ridiculously easy car to drive. I mean, when I'm driving around, there's definitely a lot more body roll than there would be in, for say, Focus ST or Speed 3 or you know, a GTI. The shifts are very short, which is something that I love in cars in general. Mine in the Focus ST, they're definitely not short.
Just you've always said though, like the position as well too of the stick itself is kind of like higher and seems out of place a bit.
Yeah,
this one seems to be like low, and it just like it feels natural, the placement. I have a very forgiving clutch.
Oh yeah, it's a very forgiving clutch. Like, I'm driving it like sort of like a pro right now. Like there's no shift shock like when I'm driving it right now, and it's just because like it's that forgiving, especially when you're you roll into a stop sign. Now that you've had the car for, how many miles do you have? You have almost 30,000 miles on there.
Mm-hmm.
So any pitfalls about this car? What don't you like about this car?
Yeah, the biggest pitfall is going to be the suspension, simply because it's the stock suspension, the non-turbo. The Hyundai didn't do any changes to it whatsoever, and so in one word, the suspension can be summed up as bouncy. And what I mean by that is it's mostly in the rear end of the car. You go around a turn, it doesn't matter really the speed, and you hit a bump and you feel like the car is just jumping to the other lane. So it can definitely shock you a bit.
Yeah, I mean there's good parts of that. So if you were, for instance, driving this car, cruising around, you know, in the car for like 5 hours straight, it's definitely comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you want a bit more sporty feel, you would definitely go either Civic Si, Mazda Speed 3, or a GTI or a Focus ST.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for this car, I mean, it's definitely punchy. It's definitely not, you know, and I attribute, like, I had a Kia Forte SX before, and it was the naturally aspirated 2.4 liter.
Yeah.
And that thing was just crap. Like, it probably has the same suspension.
Still suffers the same thing being a Kia and a Hyundai.
Right.
The jumpiness. So
Which,
you kind of can agree with what I'm talking about from driving the Kia aspect, driving the Forte.
yeah, absolutely.
Jumping around and stuff like that. Yeah.
It's sort of like when you go over
Hyundai, you need to work on that.
this little bump, or this little pothole or whatever, it feels like your car jolts from one side to the other. It's not like you're scared, it's just uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's something that you just don't expect it to do, and it does it anyways.
But yeah, I mean, I'd say the one thing that I really like about this car is the sunroof, which is ridiculously large. It doesn't open all the way, but I mean that, and it's really fast. It opens up in like 3 seconds.
Yeah, if that.
No, that's like less than.
It will not close, however,
Oh my God.
without holding it down.
You're lucky it's fast.
So it opens up fast, but if it starts raining on you or whatever, you gotta hold the button down.
Yes. So I mean, bolstering in this seat isn't that bad. I think is it a little bit different than that one?
I believe both seats are the same.
It kind of feels a bit different. It kind of feels like.
But you're spoiled with what are they, the Recaros? You don't move anywhere in those things.
So another thing about this clutch, if you let it out just gently, it'll move you forward, and that's something that you don't get in more heavy clutch cars, which is nice. Like when you day-to-day traffic, like you daily drive this, obviously you got 30,000 miles on it, and
yeah, my average commute to and from work is 20 miles one way. So having the gas mileage and just having a really forgiving clutch with it being manual, like, don't get me wrong, my left foot sometimes will cramp up, especially in the winter time when you're just having to deal with the snow here. But
or after you do a workout.
Or after a workout, yes. But at the end of the day, it's forgiving. I mean, you can get started without having to give it any gas, and it'll keep rolling for you. That's one of the biggest perks, and also just having the low end power. It doesn't come on like instantly like your car does in the ST and gives you whiplash. This is more of a progressive feel, but there are some times I'll just downshift it and get a smile on my face, and I mean, smiling at the end of the day is always good. And this car keeps giving me smiles, so. Could it be faster? Yes. Could I work on the suspension? Yes. Do I want to pay the money? No.
I don't know. I think for this car, like 200 horses is good for what it is right now. If you want it to go bigger and better, you would obviously do the suspension before you did that. Like, I mean, there's really, and you would have to do the brakes.
Yeah.
But there's really I mean, for this styling, like, you can make it look mean. I mean, it already sounds mean. I guess the quirk we should talk about is the 3 doors. So, I've sat in this car in the passenger seat plenty of times.
Plenty of times, yeah.
Plenty of times in the back seat. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's kind of just like, hey, I'm coming out of a minivan. Like, you know, the bench seating minivan stuff that everybody had when they were kids.
Yeah, so to get in behind the driver's side seat, you're coming in from the passenger side 3rd door. Have you ever hit your head getting in and out though? That's the thing.
I haven't.
Okay.
I specifically haven't, because I'm not a moron, but
people will hit their head on it. So it's not the best perfect door, but it does the job. And it's also it's on the passenger side, so you pull up on a curb, you're not letting someone out on the driver's side getting hit by traffic.
Well, something that I noticed while I'm driving this, it's very easy to heel toe. Your pedals are spaced out perfectly for that.
This thing, you can get it loud when you want it to, but then it also is really quiet. So at idle, it's like it's not even there. And the other thing that's not as obvious, just at least sitting over here, I was able to hear the spool of the turbo. It kind of gets a little high-pitched ringing sound, and I don't know if the camera actually picks it up, but that also reminds you, it's just like, oh yeah, this car's got a turbo in it. I will touch on another gripe, and I don't know if it's just because this is a 2013 and it was the brand new off the line, but being the first model year, for whatever reason, I get black soot out the back, and I'm just believing that an engine just runs lean or rich, whatever classification you want to call it, but it looks like shit after a while if you don't constantly wash your car. The back end just starts getting black and everything. And it did that before I put on the aftermarket exhaust. But overall, the car will do what you want it to do. But
if you're looking for a real sporty feel, don't buy this car. If you're looking for that special, like when you turn in, yeah, that feels really good, do not buy this car.
Right.
And I don't want to knock this car too much, because it's great bang for the buck, and you know, it's in that Fiesta ST area. So if you want to go sportier, and I mean the Fiesta ST is a bit smaller than this. So, but I mean, for the performance wise, would you have gone for the Fiesta ST if it was this car? Like if it had that engine in it, or that...
Well, when I was actually looking at this car, the Fiesta wasn't even in the market at that point in time, and honestly, if I was looking at this a year later when that one came around, I would have been test driving it, and I haven't done that to myself yet, is actually test drive the other cars, because for performance wise, I'm going to want another car then, hands down. When it comes to the gas mileage, the various amenities, you know, panoramic sunroof, navigation, the backup camera, yeah, you got to pay extra for it for that package in this car, but if you're looking for the amenities, the steering wheel controls and stuff, you'll get this car. If you want it, you know, go out for a track day, you're not going to get this car. You're going to look for something else in the segment. And the Fiesta ST most likely would be, without actually driving it and having a bias there, I would say that probably would be the hands down winner. Maybe a GTI close second, but
I mean, I would say
you're also looking at what your preference is. If you don't need that big of a car and you want the hatch, sure, Fiesta ST.
Yeah, I mean, the one awesome thing about this car and the Fiesta ST is they're under 2,800, or this one's just shy of 2,900. It's like 2,877.
Wait.
Curb weight.
Oh, you're talking weight.
Yes.
Oh man, run right over my head. Yeah, this is around 2,900. The panoramic sunroof and the what is it, like the optional, I don't even think it's called a tech package, ultimate package, I think. If you're wanting to get actually I take it back, the redesign for 2015 is they have a stripped down version of this car that'll save weight. The car that I got with everything in it, I'm not saving weight, so I got a heavier car than.
Is that one called the R-Spec?
The R-Spec, yeah. Yep, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So I mean,
that does without the push button start. There's no sunroof availability there. I don't know if it's exclusive with just the manual. I don't know if you can even get it in automatic, but that's the other alternative then too, is the fact that the automatic, even though it's not the dual clutch, it's still faster 0 to 60 time than the manual.
Really?
Because of the
weight.
Not the weight, but the gearing.
Okay. That's
to
right.
get the 60, you have to get the third. So they need to make the shifting higher on this.
The gearing taller.
The gearing taller.
That sound